Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're going to completely strip away the flashy online finance advice. Forget the luxury car thumbnails for a minute, okay? We're focusing on the real mathematical foundation of true financial stability. If you've been bombarded, and I know we all have, by that constant, exhausting pressure to optimize literally every single penny you own, to invest it, flip it, stake it, just take a deep breath. This is going to be a breath of fresh air. We're looking at a concept that quietly changes your entire relationship with money. No hype, no viral trends, just long-term math, behavioral psychology, and highly realistic outcomes for everyday people.
So, let's dive right in. The massive, hidden milestone we're talking about, $40,000. For most ordinary households, this is the exact figure that just fundamentally shifts your financial reality. It's not about becoming a millionaire overnight, and thank goodness it's not some giant, insurmountable retirement number that financial influencers push to make you feel like you're constantly behind. It is simply about building a solid, unshakable cash reserve of roughly 40 grand. That specific amount is the tipping point. It's where you finally cross over from just surviving to actually having control over your future.
Now you might be wondering, why aren't we talking about millions? Why focus on this very specific figure? Well, here's the thing. A lot of financial advice out there is created by people who, frankly, never experienced true financial instability in their adult lives. They totally get the mechanics of investing, compounding, tax optimization, the whole shebang. But they completely miss what accessible cash actually means to someone living close to the edge. They forget what it feels like when a single broken water heater literally threatens your ability to buy groceries that week.
Because let's be real, money stress controls every choice. When you live below this 40 grand threshold, you're constantly reacting to problems. You are operating from a place of pure panic. A sudden job issue, a surprise medical expense, a car breakdown, literally any surprise bill can instantly force you into credit card debt or make you choose terrible financial decisions just to keep your head above water. Your brain just doesn't have the bandwidth to plan for the next 5 years, right? Because it's desperately trying to survive the next 5 days. But hitting this milestone, it stops that anxiety in its tracks. You stop reacting and you start actually living.
Section 1. The magic of 40,000, or deconstructing the milestone. Let's break down the math and see exactly where this figure comes from. Recent data shows that the average family spends several $1,000s every single month just keeping the lights on. We're talking housing, food, transportation, healthcare, utilities, and insurance. Notice what's missing? There's no luxury travel, no dining out, no designer clothes factored in here. This is pure survival. And when you multiply those basic expenses across a 6-month period, the total lands surprisingly close to $40,000 for many middle-income households. That's the real magic of the number. It gives you roughly half a year of survival without needing expensive personal loans, high-interest credit cards, or those devastating early investment withdrawals. 6 months is widely considered the gold standard here, mostly because it's the average amount of time it takes a professional to find a new, equivalent job during a mild economic downturn.
Of course, I should mention, this isn't a strict one-size-fits-all number. Your exact target is going to depend heavily on your household size and core obligations. A smaller household with lower expenses, you might only need a target reserve of around 25 grand. An average household sits right at that 40,000 mark we've been talking about. And a larger family might need more like 50 to 60,000 to get that exact same 6-month buffer. But don't get lost in the weeds here. Focus on the core principle. The goal is having enough liquid savings to absorb a serious, unexpected disruption without your entire life collapsing. It's really about building a customized moat around your household.
Because listen, this cash isn't just sitting there being lazy, it's buying you breathing room. And breathing room equals time. Once you have a properly built emergency reserve sitting safely in a regular, boring bank account, something deeply psychological happens. You stop making decisions out of fear. Think about the absolute power of that for a second. You actually gain the time to look for a better job if you get laid off, rather than jumping at the very first terrible, underpaying offer out of sheer desperation. You have the leverage to walk away from a toxic work environment. Time is, quite literally, one of the most valuable financial assets you can ever possess. And cold, hard cash is pretty much the only way to buy it.
Moving on to Section 2, Rule 1. Cash is king. Defying the invest everything trend. Let's push back on this a bit.
There's a really stark contrast between internet fantasy and grounded reality here. The typical advice, what you hear finance influencers constantly yelling about online, tells you to maximize your retirement immediately, put every spare cent into stocks, or, throw it all into crypto. They want you optimized to the absolute limit. But if you follow that advice without a safety net, you are fundamentally fragile. It creates a complete financial house of cards. Sure, you might look amazing on paper, But without accessible, liquid cash, all that highly optimized investing is just waiting for a slight breeze to completely collapse. You are essentially building a skyscraper without bothering to pour a concrete foundation first.
So, why exactly should your emergency reserve never be in stocks, crypto, or retirement accounts? Well, because the dangers are incredibly severe. Markets drop hard during recessions. And guess what else happens during recessions? Layoffs peak. If you lock your safety reserve in the market, you're risking a perfect storm. Imagine losing your income at the exact moment your portfolio's value crashes by 20, 30, or even 40%. What happens? It triggers forced selling at a massive loss just so you can buy groceries and keep a roof over your head. You lock in those market losses permanently. It is a total disastrous scenario, and honestly, it's one that people constantly underestimate when the economy is booming.
We really need to totally reframe how you think about cash earning a lower interest rate than the stock market. You aren't losing money to inflation or missing out on gains. You're paying for vital financial insurance. Yes, cash earns less over time compared to aggressive investing. That's a fact. But the purpose of this fund is stability, not maximum growth. You're sacrificing a minor investment yield to pay a premium. And that premium, it protects you against 25% credit card debt, forced withdrawals from your retirement accounts, and total financial ruin. Think about it. You wouldn't cancel your health insurance just because you didn't get sick this year, right? So you absolutely shouldn't cancel your financial insurance just to chase a slightly higher yield in the market.
Section 3. The order of operations, or building the foundation correctly. Now that we know why this reserve absolutely must be in cash, let's look at the exact sequence to build it.
Because overinvesting while undersaving creates pure fragility. If you have tens of thousands of dollars locked up in retirement accounts where you can't even touch them without paying huge taxes and penalties, but you only have a couple $100 in your checking account when your car engine blows up, you are completely vulnerable. You are rich on paper, but broke in reality. A single major crisis is going to force you right into expensive debt, unraveling all those years of investing you worked so incredibly hard for. So here is the grounded, step-by-step game plan for ordinary households. Step 1. Get your employer retirement match. That is literally free money, and you should never leave it on the table. Step 2, eliminate dangerous high-interest debt, like credit cards. That stuff will bleed your income dry and make saving pretty much impossible. Step 3, once that bad debt is gone, aggressively build your liquid emergency reserve up to that 40 grand target. Throw every spare dollar at it. And finally, step 4, only then do you increase your long-term investing and max out those retirement accounts. This specific sequence ensures that your volatile, long-term investments are shielded by an absolute wall of cash.
Now, building this reserve takes time. For some folks, it takes several years of steady, consistent saving. And as you build it, you've got to be acutely aware of progress killers. Most people fail because they constantly interrupt the compounding process. They get impatient, right? They invest money they actually need way too soon. Or they dip into the savings account for non-emergencies, treating it like it's a vacation fund, a new TV fund, or holiday shopping money. Or, and this is a big one, they suffer from fear of missing out and get distracted chasing flashy online opportunities before they are actually stable. Don't do it. You have to stay the course and protect this money fiercely.
Which brings us to Section 4, Becoming Financially Indestructible. Let's wrap up this explainer by focusing on the ultimate psychology of true stability. The goal here isn't to look wealthy online. The goal is becoming difficult to financially destroy. And what's really interesting about this mindset shift is just how incredibly liberating it is. You completely stop caring about flexing on social media. You stop worrying about having the absolute perfect, most optimized portfolio to brag about to your friends or coworkers. Instead, you start caring about having an unshakable peace of mind. You build a foundation so solid that when life inevitably throws a wrench in your plans, because let's face it, it will, you don't panic. You simply write a check, solve the problem, and move on with your life. The crisis basically just becomes a mere inconvenience.
I want to leave you with this crucial question to evaluate your own foundation. Really ask yourself, if your income stopped tomorrow, how much time does your cash buy you? Does it buy you a week of absolute panic or 6 months of breathing room? Remember, true wealth isn't a flashy car or a viral stock portfolio. It's the ability to breathe easy and weather the storm on your own terms. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helps you build your own unshakable foundation.